HSS. We meet, they come to all of our meetings, the manager, the supervisor, and some of the staff, and our consumers share with them information, and they respond. But we just, I don't think as a whole, have reached the potential that's in that role that we're assigned. And so I don't know exactly the answers to that, but I know that we can do it because we've done so much thus far. But I know that to do it, we have to believe we can do it and dedicate ourselves to making that happen. It may be a little different in every county. In ours, and particularly, but in every one of ours, the population demographics are in our favor. In my county, 30% of the adult population is now over 60 years old. Almost as many people over 60 as under 18. The total population in our county, 23% are over 60 years old. People are beginning to listen because people are going to need services. And when you have 30% of your electorate voting, you hope, it gets everybody's attention at the levels we need attention at. We're able to use that in our county. William knows this as well. We're both on the Commission on Aging in our county, and we've talked about it a lot. There may be other inroads where we can just push hard enough that people are going to have to start listening. Beyond that, I don't have. And I want to apologize because I have to leave early. I have to chair our commission meeting this afternoon, but it's just been a wonderful pleasure being here. Thank you so much.
It's been wonderful. I just want to say too that you know, we've been working at this for a lot of years in the CICA, and we know it's a struggle. We're in there for the long haul with you guys, and you know what we want to do on every single call. I say, do you have any questions? Do you have anything you want to share? Because by us sharing with what we're doing, that's how we learn and that's how we grow. Some of you are doing some wonderful things in your counties that we could emulate in other counties. That's the beauty of having this kind of a meeting, so that we can have that opportunity to share what we're doing. But I would really encourage you to all get on those monthly calls and and share what's happening in your county, the good and the bad. And so I think that's really key. And we do want to move forward. I would love to see us be able to advocate for more funding. I think it's possible. I think there's a way to do it. I think we just have to get the ear of our legislators. We all have to learn how to be good advocates. You're not born being a good advocate. You don't know. That's a process, and it's an ongoing process. So I think if all of us were, making those visits to not only our board of supervisors, but our legislators and our districts, you don't have to come to Sacramento. You can do it at home. You don't have to leave your home. You can do it on the telephone. So we need to, we need to do all that training. And the one thing that I think for us is so hard is that our advisory committees in so many counties have term limits. So we are always changing people. And the new people we get don't know what's going on. And that learning curve is steep. It is steep. So that's part of CICA. I see that as CICA's primary function, is educating these new folks coming in to what their mandate is and how they can make that happen. And those of us who are here, I see a lot of faces that have been around a long time, which is so wonderful. But that is our job. Those of us that have been in this, doing this advocacy work for this long, need to educate these new folks coming in and those young folks. As Cindy said, it's really important to get those young folks on your advisory committee too, because they're going to be in there for the longer haul than we are, the older folks. Okay, any questions or comments? I would love to hear anything that anyone out in the audience would like to say. You can pass the microphone around.
Wait a minute, I do have a question. I
Randy,
don't need a
go.
microphone, but that's something. You said that, how is the funding doing now for all the public authorities as you guys are going forward? Each county, I realize, is different. So I was just curious about where all the funding is coming from each county, how's that funding being used, and what's the state doing about that? Do they do some kind of audit process? audit process, audit.
I don't know about the audits, but I can tell you that the public authorities have their own mandates too. So that they do have the specific things that they have to work on. But then they also, each public authority has leeway to enhance their programs. And I know in a lot of, like, for example, in Santa Clara County, we have an urgent care registry. Some counties do and some counties don't. That's where when people have their provider doesn't show up, that they can call this urgent care registry and get a worker out there within 1 or 2 hours. We also used to have what we call the hard to serve registry, and there's a possibility that that's coming back. And this is a cadre of folks in the public authority who have social work training and can go out and actually assist in doing a little bit of case management with folks that are on IHSS. And that when we had it was very, very effective. And the public authority's funding was dropped, was lower. Excuse me, we had to do away with that.
Wait a minute, since you guys are subject to a state mandate, since you're subject to a state mandate to make sure that you get your funding, isn't the state supposed to make sure that you get enough funding to run East County?
I think all programs would love that to be the case, but it's not the case. Funding for all programs has gone down as the need has gone up and continues in that trajectory, unfortunately. I'm also on the governing board for our area agency on aging, and our budget, as you know, aging programs have been cut and cut and cut, and again, we're looking at no increases next year, but the demand increasing dramatically. Public authorities have been reduced in their funding, not only the money that was there for advisory committees, and in every county is a little bit different as far as funding advisory committees. You know, in some counties, they've made up the difference, I think, in some. Yeah, Alameda, I think, is one, and Charles will speak later, that has made up the difference. Not all counties have done that. You know, everything kind of came at once. One thing being the recession, and counties laying off, and services being cut, hiring freezes. In my county, in Placer County, you know, we had to cut back. We cut back the number of meetings. We cut back. We had stipends for our members. We had to cut that back. But the county has just continued to help fund us, so we pay our dues every year. We have a newsletter, and the county doesn't question. They just pay for it. You know, they've been very, very supportive. So it isn't. We haven't really gone without, but we've suffered under the reduction of funds. There's no question about it. Charles, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just think it needs to be pointed out that in the last couple of years, with the state's maintenance of effort deal with counties, counties can choose to increase the budgets, the operational budget of their IHSS program, their public authorities budget, and the budget of their advisory board. And in that increased funding, that increase in their spending is then claimed to the state and the feds pay it, and there is no cost to the county when the budget of the IHSS program's operational side, the public authorities operation and advisory board costs go up. But some counties are reluctant to agree to increase the budget of their public authority or their advisory board. Some are worried that maintenance of effort deal will go away and they'll be stuck with this commitment for this higher funding. But many counties have increased the staffing of their public authority budget, staff of their IHSS program, and even the budget of their advisory board. So that possibility is there should your county elect to do so.
Thanks, Charles. And I think that's really an important point, and maybe a point that advisory committees can use to remind their counties and hopefully allies that you may have in power in your county, that is the case. Increased costs in IHSS are no longer borne by the counties if they met their maintenance of effort, which most have. Now, Charles is absolutely right. In my county, caseloads are going up. Social workers are carrying way too high caseloads. reassessments are way behind because of lack of staff. And yet our county is still reluctant, even though it wouldn't cost them anything, to add staff to IHSS or, although we haven't asked them, now I may do that for sure, to use those savings partly to fund advisory committees. And the reason, and Charles is absolutely right, the reason our county uses, and Placer County is a very conservative county, I think now the most conservative county in the state. They don't want to add staff because they don't trust that maintenance effort agreement. They think it'll fall apart and then they'll be stuck either laying people off or paying extra costs for the staff and the costs they've added. But I don't, to me, that argument, I think, is being worn down, especially as we're recovering from the recession and things are getting better all around, and the demographics again. I have told my county and anybody that will listen to me that we, IHSS, and its advisory committees, and the whole community-based system of services, long-term supports and services, provides a bulwark for the counties who are providers of last resort. And I tell my board, if we're not there and healthy enough to serve, they're going to be pounding on your doors and going to the newspapers, and they don't want that. And so they're beginning to realize a lot of the things that they can't do anymore for the cost that the lower cost systems can do, it is a good investment. The other thing that I have done for many, many, many years is not advocate IHSS as a maintenance program only, to maintain somebody in their home and in their environment. It is also a preventative program. It prevents unnecessary admits to hospitals. It also prevents premature institutionalization and unnecessary institutionalization. And starting with San Mateo County years ago, that the county agreed with that assessment and began to take IHSS much more seriously.
Thanks, Charles, and thanks, Cindy, where we went. And it's time up. One more comment we'll take from the back of the room. Go ahead. Yes.
Okay. I'm visually impaired, so you're gonna have to point at me or.
Sorry.
So my name is Robert. I'm from San Diego County. Aside from sitting on the board, I'm a consumer as well. I also advocate on the ADA legislative outreach team, and I stand strong for the vision impaired. The problem I have with IHSS and public authority is that being a consumer, I did facilitate with the Braille Institute to work with public authority in working with the vision impaired. And I know there's a couple pilot programs starting. I'm not exactly sure what they're doing, but our board talked about it briefly. But my concern is working with the vision impaired, from my point of view, the consumers and the providers, they're like deer in the headlights. When you tell them that you're blind, that you're vision impaired, that you're legally blind, what have you. And I've offered my services not only to UDW, but to CICA as well, as a liaison, which I've done with ADA, which I've done with some of the mental behavioral organizations that I work with as well, in training, in basic etiquette, and working with the vision impaired. So I think that's a very important angle that CICA needs to take on. In my county alone, there are 60,000 vision impaired individuals. Last count, there's 245,000 diabetics, which is the leading cause for vision impairment. Last year, 2 years ago, there was 145,000 diabetics. It went up almost 100,000 people within 2 years. So my point is that I'm sure a lot of the consumers in my county alone, I believe there's 26,000 IHSS clients. I'm sure a majority of those people are diabetics and or vision impaired. A lot of them would be surprised how many don't even know of the resources available for IHSS services. That's where I think it's important for CICA to work directly with the vision impaired and people that need those resources. Statistically, people that are vision impaired have the highest rate for depression, for anxiety, for not even wanting to go out because of their vision impairment. So with that said, they don't know the resources that are out there, such as IHSS.
You're absolutely right, and I thank you for saying that. And I think that we would love to have you on our executive committee to follow through on a lot of those items, because I think you're absolutely right, and I think that we're only going to see, because of the diabetes issue, many, many more seniors with visual impairments that we're going to have to serve. I mean, I don't know where the bill is. Deborah can probably talk to it when she comes up here to have for blind and visually impaired folks to actually get reading services and help. That was in the legislature this year, and I know that Brown said if it passes out, he will sign that. It was only for vision impaired and folks, not for people that needed help if they had hand issues or couldn't handle the paperwork. So hopefully that'll be one step in the right direction. But we welcome you for sure on our executive committee to work on some of these issues.
Just to support that gentleman, I've got some statistics here. It's projected that by 2030, which is not that far off, and the survey started in 2000, between 2000 and 2030, but by 2030, 25% of the boomers will have diabetes. That's a lot of people. 25%. Of the millions and millions and millions of us who are,
And I'm sure with that take statistics in the last 2 years, it went up from 26 million current diabetics to 32 million in the United States. The scary thing about that is that there's 79 million pre-diabetics.
Yeah, it's huge, and of course a lot of it's obesity, but that's the reality. That's what we're looking at, so we're absolutely right.
Thanks, Ellen. Now it's time for us to move on to our next panel. Is Karen here? Hi, Deborah.
Thanks, Deborah.
She's not here.
Okay, we can,
She's not able to come.
maybe Fran is here. Maybe Fran would take Karen's place. Or Bud, you want to do that? I just want to talk about CAPA and what you do, what your function is. Our next panel is with representative organizations from organizations that CICA partners with. And we put this on the agenda because I felt it was so important for all of you to know that CICA doesn't stand alone. There are lots of organizations out there who, number one, we partner with and that are incredibly supportive of the work that we do. You've heard a lot of these folks on the telephone. And I think it's always nice to put a face with a voice. And this is one of my favorites in the whole wide world, Deborah Doctor, who is the Disability Rights California. And there's CAPA. Somebody will come up here from either Fran, who's with Yolo, or Bud, who's with San Diego. Hate to do this to you, but we'll take just a brief what's happening. I think Karen probably is going to use it. And then I would want to talk about a few organizations that all of us on the executive committee are with here in Sacramento that to represent you folks. your advisory committees and all the constituents, the folks that utilize IHSS. Okay, I'll let Deborah go first. I'll introduce Deborah Doctor.
Hi, I'm Deborah Doctor from Disability Rights California, and it's just amazing to me to look out at this crowd because I can remember in 1995 when I applied for the job as Executive Director of the Alameda County Public Authority, and I had to ask, what is IHSS? And a public what? So that was before there was a dream of an organization like this. Actually, the three of us who were directors then, Eldon first, and me next, and then Donna Kalane, we had this fantasy that we would have an organization, the three of us could band together and hire a lobbyist, and that was like this pipe dream, and we were summarily told that was never going to happen. That lobbyist we wanted to hire was Karen Kiesler. So I'm not going to speak for Karen today, but I'm just so delighted to see all of you, and I know some of you have been at this a very long time, and you've been hanging in there through a lot of terrible times, so I'm delighted to see you. So now I work for the last many years at Disability Rights California, which used to be called Protection and Advocacy. If I have enough time later, I'll tell you why I owe my job to Geraldo Rivera. It's not like a personal thing, but anyway, so we are the biggest disability rights organization in the country. We have about 220 staff around the country, around the state, sorry, in California. We're the designated protection and advocacy organization. There's one in every state, and we're the one in California. And we do an enormous range of activities, from individual information and referral and assistance to class action lawsuits. We're the people who helped stop the big cuts to IHSS a few years ago. Not the first time that we've done that. The first lawsuit we ever filed on IHSS was against Jerry Brown version 1.0, back when he had hair. And he was not a friend of IHSS then, let's just say. So he's nothing if not consistent. We work on housing issues and employment issues. We have staff who are clients' rights advocates for people who use developmental centers. We have staff who are advocates at the state psychiatric hospitals. We do a wide range of activities, tons of outreach. I think the brochure says we serve 30,000 people a year or something. So I'm one of the lobbyists. Very dirty word, right? Lobbyist, very bad. That's what TV tells us. But I'm your lobbyist. That is, I'm a lobbyist for people with disabilities. And I usually show that I have no money in my pockets to hand out. And I realize what I'm carrying around is a poop bag for my dog, which might be appropriate in Sacramento also. So I'm a lobbyist. I work on long-term care issues. I work very closely with Karen Kiesler, who very much wanted to be here today and couldn't join us, and she is the executive director of the California Association of Public Authorities, and the person who knows, remembers, and can find every piece of information about IHSS since it started 40-something years ago. And I have tested that over and over again since I have none of those characteristics. I usually say she's younger, smarter, blonder, and thinner, all of which is still true. So I am amazed and delighted to see all of you here, and I know that people came from as far away as San Diego, and I'm assuming there's people from the far northern counties and eastern Humboldt. I'm so impressed. And you're all going to be here tomorrow for Capital Election Day, right?
Yes.
Cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so fun, and it won't be 100 degrees, I don't think. So I'm supposed to talk about how we work together, and we do. That is, one of the ways we work together is that when the legislature is hearing bills or budget items about IHSS, especially budget items, and they know now, the well-trained staff, and staff is incredibly important in the legislature. If I leave you with no other thing to remember is to get to know legislative staff. Many times they outlive, I mean, not literally, but there's no term limits on legislative staff. They can be your absolute best friends, those of your own legislators and those who work in the leadership positions. And there are some who are so devoted to IHSS and really believe in it, and they know to say, we want somebody on a panel. I mean, this took years, but now they regularly say, we want there to be an IHSS consumer on a panel, and it's CICA who gets asked, or through our IHSS coalition, who can come and be a lead witness on this issue. And then you all help get the word out that this is an issue that people need to turn out for. And I'll say, frankly, in the past, it's been the unions who have mostly turned out consumers, and I think it would be really good if we had a way for consumers to be able to attend regardless of whether or not the unions are able to support that attendance. And I will also say that when I get up and testify, I think it was a Peanuts cartoon, the legislature, you know, they like joke with each other, they eat their lunch, they whisper. It's like blah, 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 the doctor, blah, blah, blah. But when a consumer gets up and speaks, they listen. They may not do what you want, but you can tell they are actually listening. They are polite. At their best, they are attentive. Sometimes they even ask questions. So do not think that us few paid lobbyists are a substitute for you. There is no substitute for the people who are actually feeling the pain or feeling the issue and are living the program. Sometimes it feels hard to get into the process, and it will especially feel hard next month because, frankly, the budget deal gets made behind closed doors with a lot of horse trading. I guess that's the polite way of putting it. But during the year, it is absolutely important for the legislators to hear from you in their offices, their regional offices, or in their Sacramento offices and they want to hear from people who vote. And I just happen to have some voter registration forms if anybody needs any. So we work together really well, I think. There may be ways in which you guys think we at DRC or other organizations can work better with you. I know that when I put out a call for support for our bills, I hear generally immediately from Janie or Charles, and I hear from Randy Hicks at CER before I hear from anybody else. And that leads me to my commercial announcement on two bills, AB 1518 and AB 1235. And the reason that they're relevant and important to you is that they promote community living services as opposed to nursing home services. They make more of an even choice for people to stay out or get out of nursing homes or other institutions. But I actually have something else I want to. Yes, sorry. AB 1518 and AB 1235. AB 1518 is a bill that's actually sponsored by the Assembly Aging and Long-Term Care Committee, not an individual legislator. That's kind of a big deal. It's the first time they've ever become the author of a bill. And it's worth it to you if you should be visiting tomorrow legislators, and you happen to be visiting anybody who's on that committee, to thank them if that comes to mind. And there are some members on that committee, some new legislators, who are pretty cool, technical term. I mean, they are new and they're young. I mean, pretty much everybody there looks young to me now, but they care about aging and long-term care issues, and they need to meet you.
Do we have their names in paper?
I can tell you how to get them. If you have access to a computer, you can look at the Assembly website, which is asm.ca.gov, G-O-V, and all of the committees are listed there. And if you click on a particular committee, like aging and long-term care, it lists all the members and what offices they're in.
Yes, but do we know which of those legislators are going to support us?
Well, on that committee, they've already supported it, it's their bill.
Oh, I see, okay.
But I was just saying that if you happen to run into them, I can't read that far. Is that?
Hey Deborah, what's happened to that bill that's going through appropriations?
Oh, the bills are in appropriations committee, so our struggle is to get them out of the appropriations committee. Bills that have a cost attached to them go to the appropriations committee, at which point they're put on this thing called suspense, which really keeps the lobbyists in
You guys
suspense.
took all the funding out though, didn't you? And the 1550, the homestead, the homestead credit act, the 1538, you guys take some amendments?
1518 has to do with fixing the nursing facility waiver, and AB 1235 has to do with something that I bet none of you have heard of, the home upkeep allowance, which allows people who are going into nursing homes to keep, if they have income, to keep it to maintain their home so they don't get stuck there forever. And I should have brought fact sheets, and I didn't. There will be information about those bills at Capital Action Day tomorrow, because they're on the platform for Capital Action Day. But in however many minutes I have left, there are a couple of things I want to kind of challenge you about, which is not what I was asked to do. Okay. Oh, but first I want to answer the question about the payroll system and people who are blind or visually impaired. That is my organization, along with DRED of Disability Rights Education and Defense Fund, who has been negotiating with the state for a fix to an issue that has been around ever since there was IHSS, which is that people who are blind or visually impaired have to sign timesheets that they can't read, and under penalty of perjury, which is a problem, big problem. And so after much effort by certain consumers, and I want to mention somebody who isn't here today, Maggie D., who is a fabulous advocate from Contra Costa County, as well as many of you, I'm sure, in here